You are welcome to Ma's Storytime. Sit back, watch and learn from our today's story. Once upon a time, there lived a very handsome young man named Abby. He was tall and handsome. His skin was smooth, his teeth were white like fresh coconut, and his voice was as deep as the village drum. Because of his good looks, all the girls in the town wanted to be his wife. But Abby was full of pride. He always said, "No woman is good enough for me." He would talk to a girl, tell her sweet words, promise her marriage, and when the girl finally fell in love, Abby would sleep with her and leave her. He would laugh with his friends and say, "She is not smart, she is a very stupid girl. She is not wife material." One after the other, he broke the hearts of 7 girls. They all cried and moved on with their lives, too ashamed to tell anyone. Abby did not feel bad. In fact, he felt proud. He thought he was too special. But one day, something happened. The 7th girl was Afini, a kind and gentle girl. She thought Abby truly loved her. When he dumped her like the others, Afini cried day and night. One evening, she walked towards the river to end her life. She couldn't take the pain anymore. But just before she jumped into the water, a strange woman appeared from the bush. Her name was Nimi. She was a vibrant old woman. Her eyes were sharp and her voice was strong. She said to Afini, "My daughter, why do you want to throw your life away because of a man who throws hearts like stones?" Afini cried, "He promised me marriage. He slept with me, then laughed and left me. I feel useless." Nimi shook her head and said, "If you harm yourself, Abby will keep hurting other women. But if you stay strong, we can teach him a lesson he will never forget." Afini looked up slowly. "What can I do? I'm just a girl." Nimi smiled and said, "You are not just a girl. You are the one who will stop this evil circle. But you must listen carefully and do everything I said." Afini wiped her tears and nodded. "I'll do anything, Mama. I just want Abby to feel the pain he caused me." Nimi looked deep into her eyes, then held her hand firmly. "Come with me, my child," she said softly. Before Afini could even ask where they were going, everything around her changed. The air became thick, like early morning mist. The trees disappeared, and the ground felt cold and smooth like polished stone. When she looked up, she saw herself standing in a large open space, surrounded by women in long white cloth. Their eyes shone like fireflies, and they didn't blink. Afini's heart began to beat fast. Where are we?" she asked in a shaking voice. "This is a place not many know about," Nimi said. "It is where broken hearts gather strength." Afini wanted to run. Her legs trembled. Her body felt cold. "Mama, I want to go home. Please. I didn't know this is where you were bringing me." Nimi turned to her gently. "Afini, my daughter, I will not harm you. Whether you stay or go, I will never force you. But this is the only place where we can prepare your heart to fight back. You must not fear. Fear is what made Abby win. This time, you will win." Afini looked around again. The strange women were just staring at her. Not one of them moved or spoke. But they didn't look angry. They looked calm, like they were waiting for her to decide. "I want you to teach Abby a great lesson," Afini said. "I want him to come to me for help." Nimi smiled, and she showed her a way out, and Afini found herself back at the edge of the river. The next day, as the sun was gently going down, Abby was returning from his farm. His cutlass hung over his shoulder, and sweat dripped down his fine face. He whistled happily as he walked the narrow bush path. Just as he got close to the river bend, his eyes caught something, or rather, someone. There, sitting on a large flat rock, was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Her skin glowed like gold in the sun. Her eyes sparkled like river water, and her smile was soft, yet powerful. She wore a simple white wrapper, and her legs dangled gently as she hummed a tune he didn't recognize. Abby stopped in his tracks. "Who is this?" he whispered to himself. His heart began to beat fast, not in fear, but in excitement. Just like before, just like always, his old hunger rose again. He walked up to her with his usual charm. "Hello, young beautiful woman," he said, flashing his white teeth. "What brings a flower like you to this lonely place?" The woman turned slowly, still smiling. "I was waiting." Abby's smile widened. "Waiting for who?" She looked him straight in the eye. "People like you." That was all he needed to hear. They talked, they laughed, and to his surprise, the woman didn't act shy. She didn't pretend to be holy. She didn't ask silly questions. No. She just stood up, signaled with her finger, and began walking into the bush. Abby followed quickly, already dreaming of how he would tell his friends. Another one, just like that. "No stress," he said in his mind. They didn't go far. Behind the thick trees, the woman turned and came to him. Right there, without speaking another word, they lay together. When it was over, Abby stood up, smiling proudly. He wiped his face. "Wow," he said. "You really know how to treat a man." The woman just stood quietly, her smile now soft and smooth. Abby didn't notice. He was very happy. He waved at her as he walked away, whistling again. But she didn't wave back. Instead, she whispered to herself, "You have taken what you always wanted. But this time, you also gave something in return." Then, she walked away following the road to the river. Abby returned home, still thinking about the beautiful woman he had met. But he was confused. His manhood refused to go down. The more he thought about the woman, the more his desire increased. The next day, he went out to look for her, but she was nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, in another realm, Nimi and her daughter Sayefa, the same woman who had slept with Abby in the bush, were laughing as they watched his sperm boil in a pot over fire. As the pot boiled, Abby's manhood stayed hard and up. Worse still, he had no desire for any other woman. For 1 whole week, Abby suffered. Nothing he tried worked, and he began to feel like dying. He deeply regretted his careless life and how he had treated women, especially Afini, who truly loved him. He went to Afini to apologize. After hearing what he was going through, Afini immediately suspected Nimi was behind it. She agreed to help him, but only if he promised her something. Abby quickly promised to give her anything, even if it was to marry her. Afini went to the river and called on Nimi. Nimi appeared and told her to bring Abby. Afini returned and suggested to Abby that they should go see a priestess. She took him to Nimi, who told him that the only solution was for him to get married. His manhood would return to normal after sleeping with his legal wife. Abby had no choice but to beg Afini to marry him, but Afini refused. She said she couldn't marry a man who would later leave her for other women. At this point, Nimi gave him a warning. If he ever slept with another woman apart from his wife after marriage, his manhood would rise again and never to come down. Desperate, Abby pleaded with Afini. He swore never to cheat on her. They returned home, and Abby didn't waste any time. He went straight to Afini's family and paid her bride price. Within just 1 week, the wedding was done. People were shocked. Some whispered that Afini had used charm on him. Others said she was just lucky. But only Abby and Afini knew the real reason behind the sudden marriage. On their wedding night, something surprising happened. Abby's manhood, which had been mysteriously hard and up for weeks, suddenly became normal again. That night, they finally became husband and wife in every way. From that day, things began to go smoothly between them. They laughed together, prayed together, and lived in peace. But one sunny afternoon, a few months later, something unexpected happened. Abby was coming back from the farm when he saw a woman sitting at the same rock where everything started. It was Seifa. This time, she wasn't alone. Her belly was big. She was clearly pregnant. Abby's heart jumped. He tried to pass, but Seifa raised her hand and stopped him. He had no choice but to stop. She slowly looked at him in the eye. "It's yours," she said calmly, rubbing her stomach. "This baby is yours." Abby froze. His lips parted, but no words came out. He just stood there, stunned, as Seifa turned and walked away without another word towards the riverside. Abby became restless after his encounter with Seifa. Too many thoughts filled his head. He was already married, and his wife, Afini, was pregnant. What would happen if people found out about what happened with Seifa? He didn't even know where Seifa had come from, and why she had waited until now to tell him about the pregnancy. As he walked home looking troubled and guilty, one question kept repeating in his mind. How will I break this news to Afini? Meanwhile, in another realm, Nimi confronted her daughter. She warned Seifa about the consequences of her betrayal. She reminded her that bearing a human child would cause her to lose her position as the next queen in their world. She would be cast out of the kingdom. But Seifa was ready to face the consequences. She couldn't forget the feeling of being with Abby. She wanted to be his wife and have his child. Nimi was disappointed, not just because of the broken rules, but also because she never intended to betray Afini. During one of Afini's visits to the riverside to show gratitude to Nimi and pray for safe delivery, Nimi took her to their spiritual kingdom. There, Afini met Seifa, who was already pregnant. Nimi explained everything. She told Afini how her daughter had gone against their original mission, which was to teach Abby a lesson, not to fall for him. She had been thinking of how to reveal the truth to Afini before Seifa did something worse. To her surprise, Afini didn't react with anger. Instead, she calmly said she would be willing to live peacefully with Seifa in the human world, if Seifa was ready to live in peace too. She even promised to take care of Seifa and the child. Seifa was touched by Afini's kindness. Afini is truly a good woman, she thought. What do I stand to gain by hurting her? Seifa wept bitterly for betraying both her mother and Afini. She agreed to let go of her feelings for Abby, but begged to let her child be born. In a strange twist of fate, Seifa hugged Afini, and immediately, the baby in her womb was transferred into Afini's womb. Afini, who had only been expecting one baby, was now carrying twins. Peace was restored. Afini returned home joyfully and told her husband Abby that she was expecting twins. Abby was overwhelmed with joy, but the thought of Seifa and her pregnancy quickly stole his happiness. He became silent and withdrawn. Afini, noticing the sudden change in his mood, gently asked him to open up. "No matter what it is," she said, "I promise to understand." Encouraged by her calmness, Abby finally confessed. He told her about the mysterious woman who claimed to be carrying his child. He expected anger, disappointment, even tears. But what he got shocked him. Afini didn't shout. She didn't cry. Instead, she looked at him and said softly, "Don't worry about it." Confused, Abby pressed further, wanting to know why she wasn't angry. It was then that Afini revealed everything about the strange encounters, the mystery surrounding their union, and how their paths had been spiritually guided. Abby sat still, stunned by the truth. He realized just how far his reckless lifestyle had gone in causing pain and stirring things beyond the physical world. With deep regret, he apologized to Afini and promised never to look at another woman again. In time, Afini gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. To Abby's shock, the girl looked exactly like Seifa. Far away, in her own hidden world, Seifa smiled. Her face had been planted in the human realm, never to be forgotten. Through the child, her legacy would live on. From that day, Afini and Abby became devoted worshippers of love, followers of Nimi. Things to learn from this story. Abby thought he could keep using and dumping women without consequences, but life taught him a bitter lesson. In the end, he learned that every action has a consequence. True love is built on honesty, and no one escapes the pain they cause others. Women deserve respect, and real change only comes through sincere repentance.